So, where are the promised chapters 36, 37, and 38? Short answer is they ain't done yet. Longer answer is they're not done, but they're well into production. I set myself an artificially aggressive deadline that I knew was going to bite me in the ass. I'd actually planned on starting doing this like way back in November to get the actual recording done, but I didn't due to reasons, mostly because the last year and some change, I've been very focused on working out and getting back in shape. And that tends to leave you drained during the day when the first thing you do in the morning is 3 hours and change of running and bodybuilding. So that's the primary reason I've been just completely out to lunch the last year and some change is because I've just been, it's been a haze of working out and recovery. Since I've kind of gotten into this bodybuilding kick now, so I've been focusing a lot on that. But excuses, right? If ifs and buts were candy nuts, we'd all be fat. So that's on me. In the words of Carl the Llama, I'm in the wrong here. I suck. So what is the status? Well, good news is things are well in production. I am back in the metaphorical saddle, no pun intended. Yeah, Silver is back knocking around my head, wanting to get this done. So it's looking good. I may have 36 done today. It just depends on how much of this I can get done the next 7 or 8 hours. It's not the recording that's the problem. It's the effects mixing. The recording part I've got down pretty pat, and my cleanup is actually much faster than it used to be too, thanks to some very nice software. But the layering in of the effects is just, oh God, it just takes so long. And it's not so much, the plopping the effects down. It's actually finding the effects, finding the right effect for what you're, you vision in your mind. So, I mean, that's my excuse is that I'm a procrastinator. I didn't get started until much later than I should have. And now here we are. So I know I said hell or high water, but this is hell and high water. So the timeline is going to be 36 might be today. If not today, it'll be over the weekend sometime. Depending on how big it renders out, I may have to drive into the office to siphon off their delicious bandwidth because I live out in the sticks and have crappy bonded DSL with a really slow upload of like 1.7 megabits per second. And when these things render out to be 2 or 3 gigs, that can take quite some time. Although with the new H.265, I might be able to get around that because that does some crazy compression. Anyway, 37 and 38 should be out in the following couple of weeks. 37 shouldn't take quite as long. It's not as long as the other 2 chapters, but I'm looking to have this wrapped up by mid-February. And then hopefully we'll get chapters 39 and beyond. Speaking of which, if anybody knows what's happened to Noah, I would love to know. I've tried to get in touch with him several times over the last few months, and he has just been missing in action. And it's been a long time since he put out a chapter as well, so I don't know what's going on there. I know he's a grad student. I know he's in the military, so I'm sure those are playing into it, but sure would like to know what the plan is, and if we need to Brandon Sanderson the end of Heroes or not. So that's where we're at. I do apologize. I know I suck, but things are happening and they will be coming out here in rapid succession over the next couple of weeks until I am caught up. With that being said, I've tacked on a little bit of chapter 36 onto the end of this just as a little taste. It's not fully mixed yet. I still have a few passes to do on the effects, so things aren't final or complete. But I thought you guys at least were owed a little something to see that, yeah, things are happening and will be done shortly. So without further ado, here's the first few minutes of chapter 36. Fallout Equestria, Heroes, by no one. Narrated by Equestrian Narrator. Chapter 36, Convergence. Follow your heart, but take your brain with you. The rain beat loudly against the burned-out ruins of the house. It was a steady sound, loud but predictable, unlike the thunder. The sky would split asunder somewhere in the black of night, and the world would become day for a half-second, bathed in a sickly white glow. Then that too would fade, leaving only the boom of thunder to come after it.
"It's good that it takes a few seconds between lightning and thunder,"
Curly Fries said beside me, his face briefly illuminated by another flash. His red-tinted armor shined prettily in the light, and I could count all the apples he had painted on his flank.
"The longer it takes, the further away the danger is."
When we escaped, there was no delay. The thunder and lightning had come as one.
"How long must we stay here?"
I asked. It had been a day and a half, all rain, all thunder, and never seemed to end. The streets of the ruined town ran with small rivers and were filled with mud. I couldn't be too upset, considering how much nicer Curly's hospitality was this time, though he did spit on Flair.
"Where do you plan on going?"
He smiled down at me, dim in the light of my pit buck.
"You wanted into the facility, did you not? My Applejack Rangers can help soon."
Apparently, a lot had happened to the Steel Rangers in the north, as Curly Fries found out. There was a civil war of sorts, and these new Applejack Rangers had apparently dedicated themselves to help in the wasteland. Not that I trusted them. Curly, in his exile from the Caledonian Rangers, went north, found them, and brought them south, uniting those who felt disenfranchised with Blackwater's way. The true leader of these Rangers was a small mare called Lemon Cake, who appropriately was bright yellow with a darker yellow mane. She seemed to rely on Curly a lot, though, especially when dealing with these Southern Rangers. She was off somewhere, overseeing the siege of the facility. Blackwater had been forced to retreat into the facility, blocking the entrance, but inside she was apparently fighting the other groups who had found their way. Lemon Cake was sure it was only a matter of time before she surrendered, but I was less sure. They were hospitable guests, though, especially after we crash-landed right in the middle of their siege lines. Serenity broke a leg in the fall, and Flash had lost a few more teeth. The crash also reopened Flair's wound, and when the lightning struck Raindance, it apparently did a lot of internal damage. That was not counting what it did to his coat, which was now crisscrossed with scars that looked like veins across his skin. He didn't mind those so much, given how badass they looked. All of these wounds the Applejack Rangers gladly looked after. It could have been worse, though. My leg was damaged, but the rest of me was just a little banged up, and Platinum Haze's small injuries were quickly healed by the ambient radiation still inside her, and Moondancer escaped with only a few small burns from the preceding firefight. Oh, and I was apparently suffering from radiation poisoning, but they quickly dealt with that.
"Soon is not soon enough,"
I responded, staring out into the black of night.
"Why not? You worry too much. I can't imagine what you're afraid of. How many Rangers did you take out when you escaped me before? 3? 4?
5, I mentally counted.
It's not that. There's some pony I need to meet."
How would he feel with so many ponies crawling all over his facility? Simpleheart was not the most accommodating of ponies, and with his insanity and powers, any pony trapped inside there would be going crazy, no doubt, and I worried that it was driving Simpleheart even more crazy at that. I needed him somewhat sane to accept my gift and stop whatever it was he did. Only then would I be able to clear the facility of rats and take it for my own.
"You're being delightfully vague,"
Curly Fries said as another bolt of lightning lit up the sky in yellow and white.
"You would make a good ranger, you know."
Now that did take me by surprise. I gave him an appraising look, trying to figure out where the mockery in his statement was. But I couldn't find any, so I had to laugh.
"I'm being serious. You're an Earth pony of strong convictions, and just imagine how unstoppable you would be in power armor."
It was true, but the thought made me laugh harder.
"Do you even have any that'll fit? I won't join, but I would like the armor." "I figured as much.
Curly Fries said. Whatever happened with the Applejack Rangers did a lot to calm Curly Fries, which could only be a positive, though he still looked ridiculous with his pink mustache.
Lemon Cake says the Applejack Rangers are looking for ponies to fill their ranks, and said I should ask you. I know it wouldn't go through, though I feel like your daughter would make a good scribe.
Serenity was in the room too, looking smaller than usual as she slept fitfully. There was a small white cast on her left foreleg, and she said it still itched and hurt at times. I did what I could to help by writing a little note on her cast, which got her to smile and made her decide to doodle all over the cast to make it prettier.
There's a lot of things she would be good at,
I said proudly.
I can't decide that for her.
Though I already knew it would have something to do with cybernetics. She already asked me twice if she could just cut off the broken leg and replace it. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to find it cute or creepy. Probably a mixture of both.
Maybe another time. We have more pressing things to worry about,
Curly Fries said as thunder cracked overhead again.
The facility is a mess, you know. I wonder who's to blame for that,
Curly Fries said with just a slight sneer.
Are you going to arrest me again? It's worth thinking about.
He chuckled to himself.
We're here, and the Steel Rangers as well. We've seen some of your cybernetic comrades. What are they called? Isaiah? And we caught a few raiders from the north, the Crimson Huff, sneaking around our camp. And this is not to mention those damned robots inside the facility we've heard reports of. Now the Enclave is here too,
he sighed.
I blamed you for a long time for everything that happened to me. I wanted to kill you, you know.
The feeling was mutual.
But it's too late for that. I hope you know what you're doing. Things are getting dangerous. Were they ever not?
I said and closed my eyes. There must have been a time, but it felt like forever ago.
Fair enough,
Curly Fries said. I heard hoofsteps from behind. I didn't really bother to look, but Curly did.
You,
he said with his tone venomous.
Just so.
I turned my head to see the blue Pegasus walk in with a cool air of confidence, despite the bandages wrapped around his back. He had gotten a lot stronger in the past few days. The healing potions helped heal his wounds, but the scars were still there.
What do you want?
Curly Fries, for all he had changed, did not seem intent on forgiving Flair for what he did in the past. Not that I could blame him, but it made the last few days dangerously tense. If Lemon Cake had not insisted that Flair be helped, Curly probably would have killed him while we were all still recovering from the crash.
For a chat. Mind buggering off for a bit?
Curly Fries glared, but did storm off, taking the effort to push past Flair even though he wasn't really in the way.
He's still a twat. A bit of a nicer twat, but still.
Are you okay?
I wasn't sure if it was the best opener, but I couldn't think of anything else.
No? Yes? Maybe?
He walked up beside me to admire the pouring rain and booming thunder.
I don't have a good answer, but hey, you met some of my family. That must have been nice. They're great.
Yes,
I conceded. Great ponies. That you never mentioned before. It sounded more like an accusation than I had intended.
I think I mentioned having a brother.
He licked his lips.
It's complicated. I never wanted to get them involved, and honestly, Hyde, ponies you meet tend to end up with a terminal case of dead, intentional or no. I wanted to keep them safe, and I don't like talking about my past.
I don't blame you, but it would have been nice to know.
You know enough now.
Rain poured down outside. Flash does like to talk.
And this thing with your father, I'm going to have to kill him, aren't I?
I was perhaps a little cavalier about the prospect.
Maybe.
He seemed unsure how to take my rather sudden announcement.
It's complicated. Family always is. I was always his favorite for a long time, but he wanted grandchildren, and I disappointed in that regard. Not for want of trying. Still, it drove a wedge between us. He's been looking for a replacement ever since.
A replacement? I said. With all the craziness that had happened to me, my mind started thinking about clones or something stupid.
Another favorite,
he clarified.
He's big on fighting and war and what have you. Now that I'm a disappointment, he's trying for some pony else. I think Flash's older daughter holds that spot now.
He glanced towards the room he came from, where the rest of our party was sleeping, other than Serenity.
So,
He quickly changed the subject.
let's talk about you.
Me? I said in surprise.
You made a big deal about me hiding some facts about my family.
He said with an enigmatic smile.
Why, you stand there half a mystery. I learned a bit here and there, but scraps.
I guess it was true. I never really mentioned much about my past to any pony.
So you must have parents, right? Siblings? Give me something. I need to even out the Doc in Trouble Past scorecard.
No siblings. My mom was killed when I was young, I said as emotionlessly as I could. The memories made my head hurt, so I did my best not to remember.
Oh, sorry. No father?
That was a good question. I guess I do. Flair raised an eyebrow at me. I mean, to be born, I never knew him. Probably a raider. I wasn't really sure about the mechanics of it, but I assumed most mayors in Mareford had their children with members of the Bloody Hoof. And I had killed a few Bloody Hoof members before.
Flair just laughed. So, no siblings then? Any good hookups?
The glare I gave Flair was enough for him to instantly retract his question.
Never mind then.
Maybe one day, not today. That seemed to placate him. You never gave me a good answer to my question about if you're okay.
I'm not.
He sighed.
Really, it's a lot to think through. I hate looking up at the sky knowing I'm stuck down here.
He looked up towards the black, cloudy skies.
Well, maybe not tonight.
We could try the whole cyber wing thing again, I said. He glanced over at me, unsure if I was being serious.
One day, eventually.
He shuddered slightly.
I think I just need time to process it all. More time. But I may not be 100%, but I can still help your dumb ass out.
I wasn't asking for my benefit. I'm just worried.
Don't be. Not for me. You have enough on your plate. All this emotional stuff can be sorted out after we fix this mess we're in.
Don't you think that maybe it'll be easier to fix this mess if we're all 100%? This was apparently the funniest thing Flair had heard in a while, given the way he laughed at me.
Silver, silver, silver. Or is it hired gun?
He chuckled to himself. At least I think it was to himself.
My issues are well documented. Serenity is dealing with more death and destruction than she deserves, and this is beyond her previous attachment issues, and Platinum Haze is 10 pounds of crazy in a 5-pound bag. Then there's you.
Me? I pretended not to get his meaning.
Sweetie, you talk to yourself when you think no pony is noticing. Half the time I talk to you, you look like you're looking past me listening to some completely different conversation. You're neurotic and completely unstable.
Well, that was just a bit unfair. So, what's your point? I asked. I knew his point, given the direction of the conversation, but I was feeling particularly defensive when my flaws were painted on a canvas before me. Outside, thunder cracked and lightning struck, and I saw a sad smile on Flair's face.
This thing we're doing, stopping the watches, saving dice from itself, this crazy plan of yours, you won't even tell any pony. These aren't the plans or actions of ponies at 100%. These are the actions of the flawed and damaged, the weak and weary. If we stopped everything to see a few good psychiatrists to sort out the messes in our heads, nothing would get done.
I know that, I said. Considering my plan for this conversation was to make sure Flair was, okay with everything that happened, I was completely unprepared for this turn of events.
Do you?
He asked. He looked out towards the rain.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me you're looking for something that doesn't exist. You want a hero to come down and save us. A perfect creature to burst forth and do what needs to be done, and you keep comparing yourself to this myth and coming up short. What is the nature of a hero and all that? Where does this even come from?
I wasn't sure what he was looking for.
Never mind.
He let out a sigh.
Maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there. That just mean don't compare yourself to impossibilities. You're not perfect. We're not perfect. But perfection never saved any pony.
I haven't saved any pony either.
You saved me.
Lightning flashed off in the distance, and for a second, I thought I saw rain pouring down his face. Before I had a chance to say anything, the door behind us burst open. Hired fucking done. I turned my head to see a small yellow mare in heavy power armor, Paladin Lemon Cake, the leader of the Applejack Rangers near Dice. Lemon? We helped you, the mare said. Lemon Cake was small, but struck an imposing figure. Her mane was cropped short, though it was soaking wet, and the eye patch over her left eye and corresponding thick scar made it clear she was difficult to kill. Helped you, your filly, and your friends. Now it's time for you to pay your debt. We're attacking in half an hour. Bring whoever in your little party is capable, but if you want into the facility, and I know you do, you'll come now. Half an hour? No more time to prepare? I said, getting to my hooves. My whole body was still sore from a lot of things, but I was ready. Well, as ready as I ever was. I still had some Med-X left, so what could stop me? No. She walked forward. The brown cloak she had draped over her power armor fluttered behind her. We may still have spies in camp. Things had to be kept secret. Who are you taking?
I'm going,
Claire announced, walking up beside me. If you or Curly Fries kill each other, I'm killing whoever survives, just so you know. Lemon Cake did not seem in a mood for games, though I was unsure if she ever was. I'm going. Platinum Haze and Serenity stay here. Haze would not want to go into a war zone. I knew her well enough that it wasn't even a question, and Serenity was injured. Me too. Moondancer appeared in the doorway behind Lemon. Sorry, missus. I heard you stomping about, and I just had to be part of it. The mare looked Moondancer up and down for a second before nodding. You three meet us in front of the doors in 20 minutes. Tell as few ponies as possible, and only those you know are loyal. She sighed and pushed past Moondancer in a rush to complete whatever it was she had left to do, no doubt. So, Moondancer looked nervously over to us. What did I just agree to?